Welcome back to Xtreme Onechunk Iron Man, Prifddinas edition, the prequel, where I am attempting to complete the Grandmaster Quest Song of the Elves at the lowest possible level, with no unnecessary quests, and avoiding all collection logs, all so I can start my Xtreme Onechunk journey in Prifddinas as fresh as possible. Previously on Prifchunk. I spent multiple hours in my newly constructed games room to train ranged and defense without gaining any hit points experience. I trained Hunter for my first reliable source of herb seeds, the Nature Impling, and I got enough money to fund construction and hopefully anything else I need before I get to Priff. To see the journey so far in full, check out the playlist in the description. In this episode, I want to get one of the major grinds for Song of the Elves out of the way, 70 construction. Partly to get the dopamine from crossing one requirement off the list, but mostly so I can see how much money I have left in the bank when I'm finished with my most expensive grind. But before I can get started on construction, I need to level a few skills and unlock a few upgrades. So let me introduce you to the Construction Masterplan. Firstly, I need to decide how to train construction. And there's one obvious choice: mahogany homes. It uses 60% less planks than regular construction. So if I use oak planks, I'm going to save over 1.6 million GP across the whole grind. And although the rewards from mahogany homes are all on the collection log, I can avoid them as long as I don't spend any of the points. As you can see, the master plan has 4 columns, and the first of these columns is logs. There are 3 tiers of logs that I can use, and I'm either going to need 9,000 regular logs, 4,000 oak logs, or 2,500 teak logs. Regular logs are out of contention. It would take such a long time to cut that many individual trees and make them into planks that I would probably be better off just picking up planks outside Barbarian Assault. And as I don't have access to any teak trees near a bank, collecting 2,500 logs is going to take a lot of walking, and it starts to get quite expensive, which leaves me as my only viable option of oak logs. I need to get to level 70 woodcutting for Song of the Elves, and 4,000 oak logs doesn't get me anywhere near my final goal, but I can at least get a good chunk of it done now. The only problem is that my best axe right now is the steel axe from Bob's Axes, and I don't want to use that all the way up to level 70, so I need to find an upgrade. A rune axe would be great, but there's only one place to buy one, the Woodcutting Guild, which needs level 60 woodcutting to get in. They can be crafted at level 86 smithing, which obviously isn't going to happen. And there are no monster drops that I could reasonably get. The next best is the Adamant Axe, but it has the same issues. The only shop is in the Woodcutting Guild, the monsters are too high level, and the smithing requirement is level 71. Which finally brings me to the axe that I can get, the Mithril Axe. The only shop is still in the Woodcutting Guild, the monsters are still too high level, but I can get 51 smithing and make one myself. Especially as I'll need to get around 300 steel bars for mahogany homes anyway. 51 smithing should be relatively straightforward. It's only about 10% of the way to my level 70 goal. So for now, I will just mine some iron ore and smelt it regularly or use superheat to be slightly more efficient. And I can do Plague City to skip the lower levels of mining and avoid copper and tin entirely. In later episodes, I'm going to dig into my options for smithing a little deeper, and I'll work out the most efficient methods. But for now, I'm pretty sure that iron ore is one of my better methods for both mining and smithing. Now, it's time to move on to the second column of the Construction Masterplan, which is planks. There are a few different options on how you can make planks. There's the plank make spell, there's butlers, and there's sawmills. The plank make spell is completely out of reach for this account, as it needs the Dream Mentor quest and 86 magic. Butlers are servants that you can hire to perform various services in your player-owned house, including making trips to the sawmill. A butler would make it much quicker for me to get planks made, but they don't work for free, so it's time to do some more quick maths to work out if they are worth the cost. At level 50 construction, you can hire a demon butler, who can take 26 logs to the sawmill at a time, and costs 10k for every 8 trips. so will cost me 48 GP per plank. Additionally, I have to teleport from my house to the bank and back each trip, costing another 504 GP per trip and adding another 20 GP per plank. This would make the total cost of an oak plank go from 250 GP to 318 GP, increasing my overall cost by 27%. And this is probably a little optimistic, as I'm not sure I can set up my inventory to give the butler 26 logs each time. I've decided to take the more frugal approach and not use the butler to make my planks, as I don't really want to have to go back to making money, but we'll see if this was a mistake by checking my bank balance when I get to Priff. Which just leaves me with sawmills, and there are 3 sawmills in the game. There's one in Priff, one in Varrock, and one in the Woodcutting Guild. The one in Priff is obviously out, but I think I'll become very familiar with it when I get to Priff and need to get 99 construction. And while there are some really good methods to make the Varrock sawmill efficient, by using hot air balloons and rings of dueling to get back to Castle Wars, or by using the Ring of the Elements to teleport to just outside the sawmill, but both of these are locked behind multiple quests. Which finally brings us to the Woodcutting Guild sawmill. It's closer on foot than the Varrock sawmill, and since they removed favour earlier this year, it only has one requirement: 60 woodcutting, which I have to get anyway, so it may as well be now, and I've already worked out how I'm going to upgrade my axe. Right, so that's pillar 2 of the master plan out of the way. On to pillar 3, magic. Mahogany Homes contracts can send you to one of 4 cities: Varrock, Faldor, Ardoin, and Hesidius. If I move my house to Hesidius, then I can use magic to teleport to each of these, but I will need to train to level 51 magic to do so, and I want to do this at least somewhat efficiently. There are a few spells that I want to take advantage of with my limited magic budget, and the first of this will also speed up my smithing grind, and is Superheat, which, although will be super helpful, I probably can't use it too much, as nature runes get pretty expensive. And at some point I will need to unlock High Alchemy to turn the rest of the items I got from Wilderness Agility into coins, but that's a higher level than I need to get right now, so I'll worry about it later. Enchanting bolts and jewellery is often good for low level training, but I don't have access to bolts or jewellery to cast the enchant spells. And Telegrab could be quite useful, but there isn't anything that I can think of that would be particularly useful to Telegrab. So, with no useful spells to cast until 43 magic, I'm going to head over to the Arceus library and find books for people in exchange for books of arcane knowledge, which each give you magic experience equal to your magic level times 15. And surprise surprise, this was actually updated earlier in 2024 from 11 times your level to 15 times your level. So I think it's actually pretty good XP, but more importantly, it's free. So I'll give it a go, and if it doesn't work out, I'll try something else. Which brings us back to the final part of the Construction Masterplan, which is farming contracts. And you guessed it, a 2024 change that removed favour means that I can get into the farming guild with just 45 farming and start doing contracts. And as 3 of the 4 cities involved in Mahogany Homes are very close to herb patches, I'm going to add herb runs into my construction grind and only do Mahogany Home contracts until I've visited each herb patch once, and then I'll wait for the herbs to grow before doing any more. This will hopefully make things a bit more efficient, as I'll save money on lore runes, it will mean I have less running around to do, and the tea from the contracts will keep my run energy high, and in general give me something to do in between herb runs. In case you don't know what a farming contract is, you can ask Guildmaster Jane in the Farming Guild for a contract, and she will ask you to grow a specific plant and reward you with a seed pack when you do. It's a bit like Slayer, but for farming. The seed packs have a pretty high chance of containing herb seeds, which I'm hoping will keep my herb seeds stocked up and reduce the amount of time I need to spend in Piro Piro. I want to get started with farming contracts as soon as possible, which means I need 45 farming, or 42 with a garden pie, which I can get from Implings, or from the Cook's Guild, which requires 32 cooking and a chef's hat to get in. And if you remember from my Song of the Elves requirements graphic, the highest my cooking is going to get is 31. But luckily, the imps have another drop for me, Chef's Delight, which at my level will boost my cooking by 2 and let me get into the guild to buy some pies. But I don't actually have the farming level yet, as it's pretty slow going just planting low level herb seeds. Luckily, I do have the farming level to start Tithe Farm. And you guessed it, a 2024 change made it so I can use it without any other requirements than 34 farming. Tithe Farm is a minigame in Hesidius where you micromanage some very fast growing plants, and it's the only way to gain farming XP without it being time gated. Now, the reason I'm okay with doing Tithe Farm for some quick XP is this reward, the herb box. I expect it will be really bad herblore XP, but it's at least something, and getting into the farming guild sooner should make my herblore grind a little bit more manageable. And that's the whole plan. A master plan or the ramblings of a madman? You decide. But some accounts aren't able to do one small favour, so we have to design our own. So let's start putting this into action with magic and head over to the Arcane library. So I start this method off by asking one of the guys down here what book they want, and then I head into the library and check every bookshelf marked in white. Once I find a book or two, the plugin will work out where the rest of the books are, and I can run around the library, well, in my case, walk around the library and pick up a copy of every book. Then, with a copy of every book in my inventory, I can return to the middle and hand in a book to get my reward of a book of arcane knowledge. And hopefully I'll already have a copy of the book the next person asks for. And you can see in this case, I had enough books to hand in 3 in a row before heading back into the library to pick up more books. It would be better to use these books as soon as I get them, as they have weight and they will make my run energy drain faster. But it's way more fun to stack them, so that's what I'm doing. I'll spare you guys from too much running around and get straight to the book openings. Here are my first 18 books. And it seems like it's going to take me about 10 minutes to stock up on books. This inventory gets me to level 8, so not a very fast start, but I think it's about to get much better. Inventory number 2 now, and already way more XP. I only got 16 books this time, but 4 times more experience, and I'm up to level 18. And I think it's time just to blast through the rest of these. It took me 7 inventories in total, and I will be done when I hand in these last 10 books. This method has been surprisingly good, and would probably be worth considering doing on any fresh Iron Man. It would allow you to unlock high alchemy and all of the teleport spells, both very quickly and for free. 41 magic is the stopping point for Arceus Library, as I can now boost to 43 magic with a Wizard's Might Bomb and start casting Superheat. Well, I will be able to when I get some ores to Superheat. So we can now check that off our to-do list, and I think it's time to do some mining. So step 1, I'm going to complete Plague City for 15 mining and the ability to cast the Ardoin Teleport. And then I'm going to try and find a decent spot to do some mining. I first tried this 3-rock spot by the fishing trawler, but eventually settled down in this charming place in Loverkenge. It has a much better ambience.
No, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah!
And to be honest, I did most of this pretty passively. I don't think you can call power mining iron AFK, but I did it at times where I had to focus, but I was free to mindlessly click some rocks, like during work meetings or while playing D&D. With a few thousand iron ore in the bank, I took a quick trip to the Toaded Chicken in Berthorpe to buy some Wizard's Mind Bombs for a magic boost, and some Dwarven Stout for a smithing boost, and then back to the deep wilderness to the Mage Arena Bank, as it's my only source of nature runes. Now fully set up for my smithing grind, I got stuck in and cast superheat around 2000 times and then smithed all the bars into plate bodies. And here I am getting the last few XP needed for level 50. So I can now grab a Dwarven Stout to boost to level 51 and make that mithril axe that I need to start my woodcutting grind. Now I have the mithril axe, time to go back to the master plan and check off the things I've got done. I have mined all the ores and gotten the smithing level I need. I've made the axe upgrade, but I still need to cut the logs, get 60 woodcutting, and make the planks. I've actually got past the magic level that I need for all of the teleports, and now I'm level 57 magic, and I think the time to cast superheat is over. I don't want to overshoot my current target magic level of 63, so the magic column of the plan is complete. And I think it's time to take a look at farming and cooking. It's time to jump in to Tithe Farm until 42 farming. I've done a reasonable amount of Tithe Farm before, so rather than looking up any new strategies, I just went in with the one I know, which is you bring 8 watering cans and plant 20 seeds at a time and constantly run laps around these 5 patches. It's pretty click intensive, but I really like it, probably because I'm a little bit too impatient for farming. But here is where my strategy differs from normal. Usually, when you hand in plants 75 to 100, you get bonus XP. But you only get 2 bonus points for the 100th plant. And I don't want bonus XP. I want to get as many points as I can from getting from 34 to 42 farming. So what I'm going to do is leave when I get to 60 plants and reset the points. I think I maybe got a little bit too cute with this strategy, but I really am worried about my herblore XP. And here we are getting to the 42 farming goal with 90 points, which is perfect as it will be exactly enough for 3 herb boxes. It's time to open them up and see just how bad this method is. Excellent. Is this the only thing that can just bank itself? It seems weird that that's an option. Anyway, run over to the bank and here are the herbs I got. Did the calc quickly, and this is going to get me around 1700 herblore XP. So I think I found a method worse than Brimhaven Agility for herblore. And I think it's safe to say that I will not be coming back here, but I'm very happy to have the level to enter the farming guild. And as I already have a few garden pies from Implings, I'm going to head there now and get started on contracts. Now, I know quite a few of the 2024 changes that make this account bearable are just changes that came from the removal of favor. But this change is probably my favorite, the ability to access the minecart network. As I'm not sure if the farming guild would even be viable without the minecarts, as I can't use any of the other methods to get there, and it's a really long walk from the docks. In we go, and as it's the first time, I get that diary task done, which is probably the part of this account that makes me the saddest. I've gotten quite a few diary tasks done, none of them intentionally, but I also haven't gone out of my way to not do them. Now, I haven't completed any of the tiers or anything like that. Rest assured that once I get started in Priff, I'm going to pretend that I haven't done any of them, and I won't complete any diaries until I've actually unlocked all of the chunks with the required tasks and get them done again. Anyway, time to get that first contract planted. I need to plant a red berry bush. With that planted, I can get started on cooking, so I can get fully stocked up on garden pies. I didn't have any particularly solid plans to level cooking until I stumbled across this shop, which I now have access to because of changes earlier in 2024. And it has everything that I need. Enough stock so I don't have to hop worlds, a range nearby for cooking, and it's only going to cost me a little over 2000 GP, so it's practically free. And as I couldn't think of anything actually useful to cook below level 30, I got it all done here with shrimps because they have a really low burn rate and are very cheap, and then I just dropped them on the floor because I don't think I'll need them. And that's me done for now at level 30. Then I grab the chef's hat that I need to get into the Cook's Guild from Shasian Styles, which is the only way I can get one without combat. Then I grabbed my only Chef's Delight and went to the Cook's Guild in Varrock. Now, there are only 2 pies per world, so I need to hop world a lot to buy all the pies I want, which is actually when I remembered how stat boosts work with hopping worlds. If you hop worlds every 15 seconds, then the time on your stat boost will be reset. So while I'm buying pies, my stats will never drain, and I just need to hop when running back and forth from the bank, and I can buy as many pies as I want. Originally, the plan was just to boost from 42 to 45 farming, so I could access the farming guild a little bit earlier. But now, with all of these pies available to me, I can boost from 62 to 65 as well, and get access to medium contracts and the herb patch in the farming guild much earlier. In the end, I bought 220 pies, and I think that's going to be way more than I need. But it's not that hard to get another Chef's Delight if I really need one. Back in the farming guild, and my red berries have finished growing, so I can now complete my first contract. Let's open the seed pack and see if we get anything good. And I sure hope this isn't a sign of things to come. I've got 1 herb seed and I can't even plant it as it requires 73 farming. Okay, so I completed a second contract now just to boost my confidence in this plan a little bit, and 4 irit seeds is a much nicer reward, especially as irits are going to be my best herbs. Decent XP, and the secondaries are buyable. Back to the master plan, and we are making good progress. Another column finished, and all I need to do now is cut 4,000 oak logs, get 60 woodcutting, and then make a lot of planks. For the oak logs, I cut and banked them in Sears Village, and then, once I had enough, I went to do teaks on Soul Island for better XP. And here I just dropped all the logs. One of the nice bonuses from woodcutting is the rings you get from nests. They are all pretty useful to me. Sapphire rings I can turn into rings of recoil, which will allow me to kill things without getting any experience. Emerald rings will get me a couple of teleports, and the ruby rings are a nice chunk of smithing experience. With 60 woodcutting achieved, I can now enter the woodcutting guild. And I'll have a little look around before I get started on making planks. And here is the axe shop, where I can actually buy the rune axe now, which will be a nice little upgrade for the last 10 levels that I need to do. And then all I've really got left to do is start making some planks. There isn't too much to say about my method here. I'm just running logs to the sawmill and back to the bank. But it's worth highlighting the best potion that I have made in my herblore grind so far, and that is the energy potion. Usually these things are terrible and no one uses them, but I can't get super energy potions, and I'll only get a couple of staminas from Dr. Jekyll events. But I do get a lot of Heartlander seeds from implings, and the best thing I can do with them is make energy potions. So every trip I take out 1 or 2 energy potions and chug them while running, and it means that I can keep up my run energy 100% of the time. And when I'm out and about doing things like herb runs, I have to withdraw like 5 at a time to keep my run energy above 0, and even with 63 agility, run energy would be a real problem without my crippling addiction to these energy potions. 4,000 planks later, and I am done. The entire Construction Masterplan is complete, and everything is ready for me to finally start this construction grind. It's time to talk to Amy and get my first contract. She will send me to someone's house in one of the 4 cities, and I will replace a load of their furniture with my own materials, and the reward I get is a little bonus XP, a cup of tea, and some points. How is this not a scam? She has us doing building jobs for her company, where we have to pay for all the materials, source our own transport, and what do we get in return? A cup of tea and some experience. We're basically paying to work for her. Even the giants at Giants Foundries pay you fairly for your resources and time. Anyway, time to settle into my new routine for a few weeks of contract, herb run, contract, herb run, contract, herb run. You get the idea. And any of you who are watching very closely may have noticed that I have the old build interface for Mahogany Homes. and they ask me if I want a cup of tea, rather than just pouring it down my throat as I run out. This is because I'm so far behind on making videos, and I actually finished this grind the day before the quality of life updates came to Mahogany Homes. So this is the first of my 2024 updates that would have made my account more bearable. But I don't think there are going to be too many more of these to come. And a nice little milestone here, 188 contracts done, 63 construction. Halfway there. And unfortunately here, I've managed to get another collection log. But it's just a history seed, and I really don't think there's any way to avoid this. And I'll get them anyway when I'm in Priff. And for today's ramble, I just wanted to talk about the hidden benefit of this account. Which is, when you're called Prifddinas, people come and chat to you. And to be honest, most of them just tell me that this isn't Priff. But I still appreciate them as well. But playing this account has been made way more fun because of these little chats that I have while doing farm runs. And as someone who is really, really terrible at socializing in MMOs, it's been great. And shout out to this guy that just called me Prifddinas and left. You've been living in my head rent-free ever since. And here we finally are. 383 contracts completed and 70 construction. The first of the 8 level 70s that I need to get for Song of the Elves. And one of the more challenging ones. And a good time to have a quick look at the bank and see how the Herblore grind is going. I have this nice little banked XP plugin that estimates the banked XP, and it claims that I have 267,000 banked Herblore XP. Now, this is definitely an overestimate, as it thinks I'll be making the best potions with each herb, but I don't have access to all of the secondaries. And with my current level of 51 and around 12 levels in banked XP, I'm around halfway to level 70 Herblore, which feels great, but this account is about a month and a half old now, so maybe it's not as good as it first seems. And a quick look at the leftover cash, got about 1.8 million left, so that's probably enough to get to Priff. I still need to buy quite a lot of things like runes for teleports and for doing the fights in Song of the Elves. So I don't think I can go crazy on the spending, but I think I can probably get away with being relatively relaxed with the rest of my money. Let's quickly go over the progress from this video and update the charts and our current status. Construction is obviously done, and some really good progress on a lot of the other skills, and one quest complete. The plan for next time is to do the rest of the pre-quests for Song of the Elves, leaving me with just 7 other level 70s and Song of the Elves left to do. So thank you all for watching, and for all of the subscriptions, comments and likes. I actually got YouTube Partner from just the first 2 videos, which is completely wild to me just how well this is going. So if you are liking the series, please keep up the engagement, and I'll see you in the next one.